Welcome everyone, my name is Jacob. This is Hunt Detail. Thank you for joining me. So a couple topics. First of all, we are at the peak of the rut right now, and we are also at the peak of FOMO, fear of missing out for most whitetail hunters. We're getting cell cam pics, we're getting text from our buddies with pics, we're getting seeing stuff on social media of people killing big deer, and so it's an exciting time, but it also can be highly anxious in terms of there's a party going on and you're invited but you're not there. So just a quick commentary on this. I was fortunate enough to fill my tag here in my home state on October 1st, shot a nice buck about 10 yards, and it all sort of came together by executing sort of the plan that I had. And based on those particular conditions, etc. And but ever since then, I've been trying to fill a tag in another state, and it's been a lot of does, it's been a lot of small bucks, but until last night when I saw a bruiser of a buck, got him to about 30 yards, but unfortunately it didn't work out. But we'll talk about that in a second. So, if you're looking at if you're watching the the video podcast of this on YouTube, you'll see behind me I have an elk head. To the right of me on the wall, I have another much larger set of elk antlers. And then in my hand, I have a whitetail shed. And I have, around my man cave space, or whatever you want to call it, I've got quite a few other whitetail skulls, antlers, etc. And the truth is that hunting is a very solo activity. It's also can be a very selfish activity. When I die, these antlers, these skulls will get sold, thrown in the trash, or given away, whatever. Something will happen to them. They have much more meaning to me than they do anybody else in my family. And a lot of times hunting is done solo. And so I have really vivid memories of killing this elk behind me on public land in Montana with my bow. And it was my first elk hunt, and it was amazing. And it has changed me for the better, for sure. And hunting is a conduit for a lot of things like that, where a lot of change in your life can happen in a very positive way because of what it forces you to do, the places that it takes you. That being said, what is my legacy when I die? Because I don't want it to be my dad. He was a great guy, sort of knew him, but boy, he was a good hunter. Or something else. Like, you could pick a billion different things. He loved golf so much, he was amazing. Or he loved fantasy football, or he loved NASCAR. And I don't want my legacy to be that. And so in this peak time of fear of missing out, I just think it's important for us all to have a little bit of perspective about what a successful life is. And I know there is this tendency to, I see memes about it where it's like, can I quit my job to go whitetail hunt? Or, we may want to skip certain things like family functions because of whitetail hunting, and or things with our kids. And I want to encourage you to have some perspective, because you're going to hear a lot of podcasts about this time of year, about how to kill your target buck, or about how somebody did kill their target buck. And while those are all fine and good and can be entertaining, the important thing is that you have to keep it all in perspective. You don't want your legacy to be that you skipped your kids' sporting events or important events in life for hunting, in my opinion anyways. And I want my legacy to be, he was the best dad ever. He helped me, he supported me, he's why I am the way I am today. Or he was an amazing husband, lived sacrificially, served his family. And I'm a man of faith. My identity is tied to Christ Jesus, and that's what I want it to be. I don't want my identity to be tied to hunting or my identity to be tied to something else that's temporary. So, anyways, just a little bit of perspective here as we are at this time of year. You know, the one thing I will say is yesterday, just to sort of shift gears, the one thing I will say is as you're hunting, if you are having a hard time filling your tag, propose theories on an area that you're hunting, especially if you're hunting public land. Propose theories and then work to prove those theories either right or wrong and work those plans. And for me, it's hunting where the deer are, not where I think they are. And so it's covering ground, it's finding sign, and then hunting accordingly. Or it's I bumped a buck recently, and I set up there, and that buck came back. Unfortunately, I he played me and got me when he came back to that area. But ultimately, I think it's important as you're as these November wanes to really focus on finding the sign, finding a scrape, a set of rubs, understanding the terrain, and saying, you know what, I think that this is how deer move through this area. For me, yesterday, it was a pinch point area, and I mean, I continually look for non-traditional pinch points. And what I mean by that is areas that maybe in hill country that are cliffed out, that force deer movement a certain way. In this particular situation, this pinch point was a bunch of CRP with little sapling mix where it is very, very thick, if not impossible to get through, especially as a person. Now, do deer use it? I'm sure they do. And I'm sure they use it during the peak of gun season as a safety area because a lot of hunters don't hunt that. And so when I looked at that, I looked at an area that A, doesn't get a lot of hunting pressure because hunters don't see trees, so they don't hunt it. And B, deer probably use it in some capacity. And as I tended to focus in on this spot yesterday, I saw a couple set of smaller rubs, and then I found, not very far away, but just 50 yards away, a string of rubs on bigger trees that were tore up and a relatively old scrape. But then these series of rubs created a rub line, and it helped me find a spot within the spot of how this particular buck was using this area. He wasn't coming through the area that I thought he might, but the sign showed me where he came from. And I'll be darned, yesterday evening, this big bruiser, huge-bodied buck came through right at sunset, and unfortunately for me, I think he picked up some ground scent or maybe some weird movement, but he boogered off. He didn't run as if he smelled me. He just turned directly around and did a 180. He did not like the snort wheeze that I laid down after that. So it was eventful in the sense that I learned something. I now know this area better than I did, and I know that it will work for me because it doesn't get the hunting pressure that the rest of the area does, and it is a unnatural pinch or a less obvious pinch that forces deer movement through that again, that is more subtle, less obvious, and my theory worked. Now I have laid down other theories that didn't work, and it helps me move forward. And I just want to encourage you to do the same thing as you work the plan and hunt the properties that you hunt. Create theories, have backups to backups to backup, because quite honestly, this wasn't an area that I had planned on hunting yesterday, but the spot that I was wanting to hunt had a vehicle at it, and so that guy beat me. And so this was a backup area that I had scouted a year before. And so going in there, I had a theory, and over the course of yesterday, I was able to flesh that out more. And now I have a spot that I may kill a deer in this year, but I'm definitely going to kill a deer there next year for sure. So ultimately, best of luck to each and every one of you. Continue to work the plan. Focus on learning everything that you can out there. Think about the deer that you're going to kill next year or 2 years from now or 3 years from now. Because as you start to have that long-term perspective, all of your frustrations or failures or whatever you want to call it for this season will start to shrink away. You'll continue to be excited about your hunts and less disappointed because you'll start to cross off areas that are unproductive and find areas that are going to produce in the future. Please like and subscribe, share this with your friends, and best of luck. And thanks again for joining me.